with Intention, podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. And welcome back to Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. I have with me today beautiful guest, Lynda Sunshine West. Welcome. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. Sunshiny. It's a sunshiny day. Well, it's not
Oh,
really,
that's
but
awesome.
it's always a sunshiny day when your middle name is Sunshine.
Ah, yeah, that's true too. So I'm so excited to have you on our show today, Linda. And please tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do, please? And where are you from?
I'm a okay, I'm from San Diego, California. I was actually born and raised here, which is kind of rare in San Diego. Most people are from somewhere else in the world or somewhere else in the US. And I was born and raised here. And at the beginning, I started off doing anything I could in order to make some money. At the very, very beginning of my career, I use the air quotes career because my career led to doing this and that and a whole bunch of different things, but not really direction. Like I didn't have a direction in life, and I was just kind of like floating through and doing whatever I could again to make some money in order to be able to feed my two kids. I was a single mom for a little while, and it was hard. Life was really hard, and about 10 years ago, I decided to do something different, and that was to go through a personal development journey. I ended up hiring a life coach. She helped me to see who I am and helped me to lead to what I do today. This is like the long answer to what I do today, because it's been a long freaking journey to get here, that's for sure. But it's been worth every single step that I've taken. What I do today is I help people to get their stories into the world to make a greater impact on the planet. And I do that through book publishing. And I'm also getting ready to launch my own podcast, Eva, called Let Me Tell My Story Now. And again, it's all about helping people to share their message and their story because every single one of us has a lot of stories to tell. And a lot of those stories that we have are about perseverance, are about never giving up, are about moving forward, are about taking those steps that we need to take in order to live a better life, which will inspire and motivate other people. And this is why I do what I do, is to get the stories out there so that we can make this planet a better place. So that's kind of like the long way to answer that question.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah. Sounds like you have a very dynamic and interesting life. And and we've talked before many times. So you've had about 49 jobs or so in 36 years. What did that
Mhm.
teach you about resilience and reinventing yourself?
Oh, good question. I never thought of it from that perspective. The 49 jobs in 36 years was really a matter of me just trying to make more money, make more money, make more money. That's what that was all about. I was never fired from any of those jobs. I was laid off once. We had 400 people laid off. I was one of the 400 that were laid off. But other than that, for me, it was always about finding something better, always searching for something better. What's kind of interesting about it is I kind of equate all of those jobs to a time period in my life when I was 5 years old and I ran away and I was gone for a whole week. Now, I just went to the neighbor's house, so I was in a safe environment. But at five, I think about how brave that little 5-year-old girl was, and also how that little 5-year-old girl knew something was wrong in my household. My dad
Mm,
was a very volatile, abusive alcoholic. So at five, I ran away from that. So I'd like to stress this of how important it is for us to understand, especially if you're a parent of a small child, that child knows what's going on. They might not know how to express it. They don't know, might not know how to say it. They might not know how to like intellectually and intellectualize it, but they know what's going on. So if it's a bad environment, things are happening to them internally. They know it. And so when I kind of looked back at all those 49 jobs, I was like, I was running away from every single job. But then I asked myself, was I really running away or was I running to something better? Like when
mm,
I was five, was I running away or was I running to? So it kind of helped me to flip my mindset and see that, every single one of those jobs that I left was for a specific reason. I felt underappreciated. I felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt like my voice didn't matter. I had ideas and thoughts and they didn't want to hear what I had to say. So there's a bunch of those types of things. And so I was always looking for something better. And I
Mm.
never found it in the corporate world. Just so you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
kind of Yeah, that's kind of my next question was like, you went from, and you know what, I myself had a lot of jobs, a little bit less, than you, but I did have a good share, and at first I felt really bad about it too, Linda, because I felt like, how you talk to people, oh my goodness, you've had that many jobs, and they make you feel like, well, you can't hold a job. And for some time, I did feel bad about it. Then I realized, no, look at all the skills I'm getting from all these jobs. Look at all the things I'm learning about myself and the world around me. So I actually started looking at a positive thing. And I traveled a lot too throughout my life. So it wasn't like I did it on purpose or anything like that. It's just like one window opportunity opened, then another one. Then I wanted to travel the world. So I left the comfort of Canada, went abroad, and I did that a few times. So every time I would come back, it was either a new experience I was looking for, like yourself, or something, right? So I learned
mhm.
to appreciate it and grow with it instead of be like, oh my goodness, how many more jobs? And I was always looking for something better. But you also had a government job. So, and then you stepped into entrepreneurship world. So what was it that finally made you land in publishing, like to run your publishing? Is this something specific?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I do want to stress a point about what you said related to those jobs. If you think about it, a person has 49 jobs, however many jobs you had, right? In that period of time, what did this mean? This meant that I had at least 49 interviews that I nailed. This means that I had at least 49 interviews where the employer said, I don't care that you had 8 jobs in 1 year because I want you. And
Mhm.
so I like to stress to people that if there's something that's holding you back in a job, especially like a job, because there are so many jobs out there that you might not like. Sometimes I took a pay cut because I just wanted to feel appreciated. That was
Mhm.
what I wanted. So it depends on what you're looking for. So really think about it. It doesn't matter your longevity on a job. If somebody will hire you, even if you have shortgevity, I just made that word up. Even if you have shortgevity, that they will hire you if you are the person for the job. So if you want to do something like that, go for it. Go for it. Don't quit your job until you get another job, but just go out there and apply. I applied for the largest law firm in San Diego, and I only had 1.5 years of experience, and their minimum requirement was 5 years. But I still applied and I got hired. So,
Mhm.
again, they were looking for my skills, like you mentioned. I've got a lot of skills because I have had a lot of jobs. And this means that every single new job that I took, I had to learn something new. Every single job, new programs or whatever. So when I got, at age 51, this is when I hired my life coach, and I was working with her for 5 months, and it was amazing. At that time, I was working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which in California is the highest court you can work for, which, I'm in California. And so I was a legal secretary by trade for 20 years, working for that judge in the end. And one day as I was driving to work, I was like, oh my God, I hate my job. I hate my life. I hate everything. I got to do something different. And I decided to quit that job and jump into entrepreneurship because I was told that you can become a millionaire in a year. Well, I'm still waiting for that time. It's been 10 years. I'm still waiting for that, but the journey has been absolutely amazing. And what happened in entrepreneurship when I left the corporate world and the government world and became an entrepreneur, I had to figure out, like, who am I? What am I all about? Who can I serve? What kind of work can I do that I can help people? And I had to figure all that out. And it took me 6.5 years, six
Mm.
and a half years of constantly trying something new, something new. A person who has 49 jobs in 36 years obviously likes new things. So it wasn't a challenge for me. But when I finally landed on the book publishing, that was my moment that I was like, this is it. Like, I
Mhm.
know
You
this is
felt
what I'm
home.
supposed to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is my purpose. This is why I'm here on this planet, is to help people to share their stories. I do that damn good. And so
Mhm.
I became a book publisher in September of 2021. And it's been an incredible journey. I met you through this journey,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
it's been an incredible journey to see the impact that little old me can make by doing the work that I do.
Wow. that actually takes me to one of my favorite things I hear from you, talking about fear. You broke through fear a day for 365 days. What was the biggest lesson that transformed you, like your life? Because I want to talk more about fear and confidence here.
Yeah, so in 2015, I woke up January 1st and I said, I have so many fears that are stopping me from living. I'm going to break through one fear every day this year. And that was it wasn't a New Year's resolution because I break every New Year's resolution I've ever set. But this
Mm,
was like a New Year's commitment. Like this was a commitment to my life to change. And so every morning when I woke up, I would ask myself this question: what scares me? And then I would lay in bed and I would wait until the very first fear popped into my head. And my commitment was whatever the fear is, no matter what it is, I have to do it today. That
mm-hmm,
was the journey, 365 days in a row. And so that journey led me to meeting some incredible people who have really opened up doors and opened up my mind to what's possible in life if we step beyond our fear. I've met so many incredible, I've introduced you to some of them, of the people that I've met. And like a 5-time Olympian, Ruben Gonzalez, I know you had
yeah.
him on the show. I met Ruben through this journey of me stepping through
Mm-hmm,
fear. And so the number one thing I learned after 365 days of breaking through fear is that I had really one fear, and that was the fear of judgment. They
mm,
say that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying, and that's not true. The truth is, more people are scared of the judgment that they might receive from speaking on stage than they are of dying. You could stand on a stage all by yourself, nobody in the room, and speak with no problem. You're on stage and you're speaking. But you put one person in that room and everything changes because now there's the fear of judgment. So if we could break through just that one fear, the fear of judgment, which is the largest fear, the biggest fear that people have in the whole world, if we could break through that one fear, imagine how your life can change. And that's what I did is I went on that journey to say, oh, that's just fear of judgment. I need to do this and no longer be worried or scared about what people think of me or what they say about me. I need to just step into my own self, who I am authentically, show up as that person. And when I show up as that person, whether they like me or love me or hate me or whatever, it doesn't matter because I am still me. And that's what's most important. So learning to become an authentic person and who I am, no longer being a people pleaser, no longer having the fear of judgment. Fear shows up, but I treat it differently now. I'm like, oh, that's just fear. I must do this because I'm scared. And it's
mm-hmm.
changed my whole entire way of living. My whole life has changed.
Wow, I love that. And what really inspired me here that you actually did that 365 days. Most people get through like March, May, and they're like, yeah, I think I had enough
Right.
doses. But so that's why
Yeah.
I admire you for actually doing the whole year. That's amazing. So is that something, somebody who's struggling with fear, and is that a technique you think it would suit most people, or you have other tricks you like to share?
But yeah, there are a lot of different things that I wrote two books related to fear. The first one is called The Year of Fears. It talks about my journey. And then I wrote Do It Because You're Scared. This
Mm,
one really is more like it has techniques and tools that you can use to break through fears. So one thing I realized is because you mentioned, you did it for a whole year. Well, the reason I did it for a whole year is first of all, I made the commitment. But second of all, is that I was noticing the incredible things that were happening because I was breaking through those fears.
mm-hmm,
That's why I wrote Do It Because You're Scared. Like let fear fuel you forward instead of fail you backwards, is what I had lived my life like, oh, that's scary. I'm not going to do it. I lived most of my life that way. So the people that I met were opening doors for me. And those doors were opening more doors, and there were more opportunities, more possibilities. And so, what I realized is that if 99% of the fears that we have, which this was my percentage, 99% of the fears that I had, when I broke through them, I was proud of myself. I met somebody I wouldn't have met. An opportunity showed itself to me that I would never have seen. And then by taking the actions to actually break through that fear, those results were so good 99% of the time. So I started asking myself, if 99% of the time when I break through fear, I'm going to get a great result. Why am I depriving myself of
Mm,
that result? When we don't break through fear, we're depriving ourselves of potential. We are depriving ourselves of that. And I got addicted to the positivity that was happening on the other side of fear. Again, that's why I see fear differently. I'm like, oh, that's just fear. Awesome. Thank you for indicating to me that I need to do something different. Thank you for showing me that I need to go do this thing because I don't know what's on the other side. And
mm,
that's what's exciting for me now.
wow. I love that. Absolutely amazing. I want to jump into because I know you said you know Jack Canfield. So I kind
Mhm.
of want to, how, what was your first collaboration book that you did? Was it the first one you did as a publisher, or did you start with somebody else and then decided to do your own collaboration books? Could you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, definitely. So the first that during that year that I was breaking through a fear every day, it was January, like January 15th, and I ended up attending a like a vision board seminar. You know, they're putting on this, they brought all this vision board stuff, and then they had some speakers on stage, you know, that were speaking the whole time. And the last speaker of the day, I decided I'm going to listen to the speakers instead of creating a vision board. So I sat there and I was listening to them. I was just like hearing their stories, and I was really just enthralled with what they were talking about. It was just incredible 5 speakers. Well, the last speaker, his name is Greg Reed, and he is not only an author, he puts on incredible events. He's the one who's introduced me to the large majority of people that I've met on this journey, those that have helped me through the journey. And Greg was speaking, and at the very end, he said something, and it really resonated with me. He said, "You need to draw a line in the sand and step across it and say, it is my turn. It's my turn to change my life. It's my turn." And he kept on doing that. And I was like yelling. I was at the front of the room, you know, the front of the state, like the front of the rows. And I was yelling, it's my turn, screaming. And I had never been that motivated and energized before in my entire life. You know, there was
Oh,
something that switched inside of me that said, yes, it is. Like I deserve whatever it is. I don't know what it is out there, but I
mhm.
deserve it. So I ended up, Greg, he also invited us to attend an event called Secret Knock. And I ended up buying a ticket for the event. It was highly, you know, very expensive. But I went, and because my life coach was with me, and she's like, you need to be at this event. So I went. And that was the start of it by me saying yes to pay a large sum of money for me to do something that I didn't think was worth it. Like I didn't think it was going to be worth that money at all. It was like $1,500. That's a lot of money to attend an event. I'm used to paying 10 or
Wow.
$15. so
Yeah, that's a big
so
jump.
yeah, it was a lot of money. And then what happened was at his event, Secret Knock, Greg gave out his phone number and he said, you know, I give out my phone number because nobody ever calls me. So I
Mm.
called him and I said, hey, Greg, can I come to your office? I just want to hang out and stuff. And he goes, yeah, sure. You know, here's our address. Come on. So I showed up at his office and I was there for about 4 hours,
Wow.
just kind of like hanging out with everybody, you know, getting to know people. I didn't know any of them, but I was there. And at the end of the 4 hours, he looks at me and he says, so why are you here today anyway? It's just
I
like,
love that.
uh, I said, you know what? Honestly, I'm going to get emotional right now thinking about this because it was such a big piece of my life. I said, I just want to be around positive people.
Hmm.
That
Wow.
was it. I had been around negativity for 51 years. I was my biggest, worst enemy. I was my biggest form of negativity. But I wanted to be like outwardly, I wanted to be around positive people. And that's why I stuck around for 4 hours, just hanging
Hmm.
out at their office, you know.
Wow.
So at the end of that, so to answer your question, at the end of that, he said, you know what, you're breaking through a fear every day, you know, this year. That's really awesome. You know, I'm writing a book. It's called Footsteps of the Fearless.
Mm.
You really should write a chapter in that book. And I was like, I don't know how to write. I'm not a writer. You know, he goes, don't worry about it. We have a ghostwriter. They'll interview you and then they'll put your chapter together. I said, okay, I'm in. It was expensive. Again, you know, everything you do with Greg is expensive. It was $6,000 for one
Wow.
chapter.
Wow.
But that was the best investment that I didn't know I was making at the time, because that was the catalyst that led to everything I'm doing today. So at the end of that
Mm-hmm.
year, Greg ended up becoming my mentor. 10 years later, he's still my mentor. And at the end of that year, he said, wow, it's cool that you broke through a fear every day this year. What are you going to do about it? And I'm like, nothing. Like that's enough. You know, he says, no, you have to write a book. There are people out there who need to hear your story, because not everybody does what you did. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up writing The Year of Fears. I was in a book, I wrote a book, and then I asked myself, what's my next natural state of progression? Because I want to keep growing. And that was to put together my own collaboration book, just like my mentor, follow in
Mm-hmm.
my mentor's footsteps. And so I put together my first collaborative book called Momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the catalyst. I did it. It was fun. I lost a lot of money on that because I had no idea what I was doing. But then I had so much fun, and it was so awesome to help people to share their story. I decided to do it again in two more books called one is called The Fearless Entrepreneurs, and the other one is Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. Put those two collaborative books together. I launched them 8 days apart. They both became number one international bestsellers in less than 5 hours. And
Wow.
I was like, this is it. This is me. I'm a publisher. And that
Wow.
was September of 2021 that I officially became a book publisher. And it's been
Wow.
amazing.
What an amazing story and journey you've been on. That's why I've only heard bits and pieces here and there when I'm on your
Right.
thing, but it's amazing. It's amazing the journey you've been on. So yeah, now your mission is to empower 5 million authors. What does that vision mean to you personally now?
Yeah. So first, when people would ask, like, they'd say, like, what's your mission statement, or what's your goal? What do you envision for your company? And I remember one day I blurted out, we're gonna share 50,000 stories to make a greater impact on the planet. And then I said, oh yeah, Grant Cardone tells you to 10x everything. So I said, oh, to 10x it, we're gonna share 5 million stories. And what I didn't realize is I was actually 100xing it. But I was like, okay, 100x, that's okay. So what this means for me is that I'm actually thinking beyond myself and looking at legacy, because
Mm-hmm.
it will be impossible for me, as the time I have left here on this planet, which I don't know, I'm 62, it might be another 100 years, another 40 years, I might live to be 100. 40 years to publish 5 million stories is a lot.
Mm.
So I'm this vision of, for what our company is going to do, is actually a legacy that we're leaving behind.
Wow, that's amazing. So how many books is it now that you've number one international bestseller? Is it like 40, 43 or more?
For myself, yes.
Wow.
So I've written in many collaborative books, whether they're with Action Takers Publishing or other companies. And then I have my two solo books, that I mentioned earlier. And then the company, we've published, I think we're at number 56, number one
Wow.
international best-selling books, actually 57, because we published one last week. So 57. And, just keep counting. And those numbers, so the 5 million number is actually of stories, not of books. And so we've published over 600 authors,
Wow.
because of those collaborative books. It's helped us to publish over 600 in 4 years. In 4 years,
Wow.
it's been amazing.
And you have a great, well, you have many of them, but the next one coming up is Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. So can you share a little bit, a sneak peek into what that chapter might be about?
Yeah, well, I always, in all of my chapters, I speak about fear, because
Mm.
breaking through fears has totally transformed my entire life. Everything about my life today is different, with the exception of my husband and my family, but everything else is completely different. And it's been a positive move. So in Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities, I talk about how breaking through fear can help you to lead to, like, what are you passionate about? And what is your purpose? Like, through breaking through those fears, it led me to my purpose. And then it opened up the door to tremendous possibilities and opportunities that I didn't even know were there. So again, it's always going to be, for me, it's always going to be about breaking through fears, because that's the biggest transformation we can make is when we break through our fears. So, but the book is coming out. I'm not sure when this is airing, but the book is coming out September 30th of 2015. If this is after that, you can go get the book at actiontakerspublishing.com/passion. Go get your copy of that book and read the stories from the other incredible authors that are sharing their message about passion, purpose, and possibilities.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I always love your covers. They're so wow. And especially the one I'm in, the Never Give Up. I just had my recent book signing event just the other
Mm-hmm.
weekend. And I don't know, something felt like it shifted. A lot of people that came up, they saw the yellow Never Give Up. It's like, oh, I needed this. Like, what is it about? They came up and it's like, oh, I know exactly a person who's gonna want this because it just jumps right at them, the title for that
Awesome. I
book.
love hearing that.
Yeah. And people are just like, oh my goodness, I know exactly who needs it. And even the person that came up, it was even for them, some of them. And they're like, tell me more, because you could tell they were going through something in life. And when they saw the title, it sparked something in them. It's like, I should ask, I should reach out. So it was so nice to be able to talk to those people that reached out, share my stories. Even though, on book signing, sometimes your window's not too long. But at least I got to connect with them, tell them about you, tell them about the mission, tell them about my story and how I overcame things. So, it is such a powerful thing to do. And you know and it was thanks to Nikki who introduced me to Action Takers Publishing, you and Sally, that I was able to take part in this. And I've always wanted to do, but I had fears too, and but I did it anyhow. And I can't believe where it's led me to. But I had that desire, but I also was scared a little bit. But until I pushed myself, and I also have, my own coach who, pushed me to go above and beyond. So you gotta go out there and get it done, as they say. So for listeners who maybe have a story inside, but feel nervous or unsure, what would you say to encourage them to finally write? What's one thing you
Yeah,
like to say?
definitely.
A few.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to start writing. It's not about writing well. Like actually, if you read The Year of Fears, which was my very first book, I was never in, I call myself the accidental publisher because I was never a reader and never a writer, not interested in any of those. The only time I ever read was when I started a new job with 49 jobs. Like I had a lot of employment manuals I had to read. That was all I ever read. I was not interested in it at all. So when I wrote The Year of Fears, like I read through it now, I'm like, wow, that was like you could tell that I was not into writing at all because it's not written very well. Okay. But it's written and it's out there. I did it. I
Yeah.
did it. And that's what I say. Just again, did I have fear to put it out there? It's called The Year of Fears. It's talking about breaking through fears. And I had fear
Yeah.
to put it out there. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even tell anybody about my book for about a year, because I was embarrassed about it. And then I thought, you know what, that's okay. At least I did it. Most people don't even write their book. Like they say that only 24% of the population ever writes a book, but only 3% ever publish it. So I'm part of that 3%. And that's right there is something to be, like proud of. Like I did it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I encourage you to just take some time and jot some stuff down, whether it's on a piece of paper or a napkin or on your phone or whatever. Just jot some stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be written well. They call it I'm not sure if I'm allowed to cuss, but I will. The shitty first draft, is the first draft, just get it out there, get it out of your head, get it on paper. And what you'll see is just by sharing it, writing it, there's a visceral reaction that happens in our brains when we start to write our messages and our stories. And what it does is it starts to unlock different emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many authors, and you might have experienced this too, Eva, but I don't know how many authors I've spoken with who have said, you are not just publishing books, you are helping people to really go through emotions and heal.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. The power of our stories can help us heal. And the more you cry, the more healing you're doing. So if you start to cry, keep it going because you're healing through that. Don't
Wow.
stuff it down. You have to let it flow, literally. Like I've had times where I'm like, I look down on my paper and everything's kind of jumbled because there's so many tears on it. I should have backed away from the paper when I was crying, but I didn't, and so the tears are helping you to heal. They're
Mm-hmm.
helping you to heal.
Wow, that's amazing. But I also feel you. I was the same when I first I knew I wanted to share my stories from traveling and then other things, but
Mhm.
I was also like, well, English is not my first language, and I was like a deer in the headlights when I wrote the first one. But you know what? Like you, I did it. It wasn't perfect, but then I did the second, third, and it just gets better and better because you learn. It's something new. It's just like riding a bike. If you're not gonna get on the bicycle and start riding, you have to go through the steps. You have to learn. You have to know something. So same thing with writing. You learn as you go. And man, I'm so glad I did it. So if
Yeah.
anybody's looking to start writing, we do have, because I also collaborate with you guys, we do have amazing books coming up. How can they reach out? What's the best way, Linda?
You just go to our website, actiontakerspublishing.com. We have all the information on there. We have some cheat sheets that you can use in order to get started. If you go download my book, Do It Because You're Scared, by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/do it. You can get a free download of the book. And then also tied to that, once you download the book, is an opportunity for you to have a 30-day fear busting challenge. So that can like be something that can help you to move forward, to break through those fears and whatever it is that's stopping you. Oftentimes, what I believe, this is kind of my experience that I've seen with a lot of people, is that we compare our stories to others. And it's through that comparison that stops us from sharing. The reality is that even if you and I are doing the same exact thing, we've approached it differently. We've lived different lives, different journeys to get us to that same thing. It's your journey that is going to impact somebody's life. Now, remember, Eva, after I published The Year of Fears, it was about maybe 6 months or so later that this woman, I was at an event and there were like 400 people there, and we were during a break, and this woman came running at me from the other side of the room. She was yelling my name. I didn't know her. She was like, Lynda Sunshine, Lynda Sunshine. And it's like, who is this? Like, she's going to accost me or something. I didn't know what was going on. But she got to me and she said, I bought your book, The Year of Fears. I read the first 14 pages and I already broke through 5 fears.
Wow,
See,
that's amazing.
I I didn't think my story or message mattered. But you know what? It mattered to her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
has it mattered to anybody else since then? I don't know, because people don't always reach out and say, hey, thanks for writing this book, but hopefully it's helped somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it helped her.
Yeah.
And it's really, I believe it's so important for us to share our stories and our messages because they will reach somebody,
Yeah. If
somebody.
not now, then one day when in divine timing. So for sure. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that.
You're
So
welcome.
the name of the podcast is Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. How important do you think it is to set intention first thing in the morning for the rest of the day?
Oh my gosh. Well, most of the time I don't. I don't set intentions because I forget. But the days I will, but it's funny because I don't set intentions because I forget. But the days that I do set an intention, I accomplish so much. So by you asking me that question, it asked me, beg the question of myself, why am I allowing myself to forget? Right.
Mm,
Yeah. So I might have to report back later on that. However, with the days that I do set intention, I'm so diligent with making sure that whatever that intention is for the day, that I take the steps that I need to take in order to hit that goal or that mission for the day. I do have a grand goal, a mission. You have 5 million stories that we tell. And so I do make sure that even though every morning I'm not waking up and saying, this is my intention for the day, I have that overarching intention of where we're going. And every day I do at least one thing that's going to get us closer to that goal of 5 million.
mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of like how I'm living my life. With that said, I did start a couple weeks ago, in the morning, making sure I get up and go for a walk, something that I stopped doing 10, 15 years ago. And just making sure that I do that. And so I've actually set an intention in December of 2026 to walk the Honolulu Marathon. I will be 63 years old. And I did my first marathon at age 40. I've done many of them, but I stopped for the last 10, 15 years. And so it's time for me to do something to stretch out of that comfort zone. So intentions, I have a lot of them. It's just they're not like I don't address them every single morning. And so this reminds me to look at that and say, okay, I need to look at my intentions every morning. So thanks for asking the question. And I
Mm,
will start doing that tomorrow.
you're welcome. Um, Thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Lynda. It's such an amazing time with you, and always learn from you so much. There's so many more questions I'd love to ask you, but for today, that's all we have. I hope to bring you on one day again. Everybody who's listening, thank you so much for being with us here today, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.